All right, welcome everybody. It's time for our game preview as the Buffs face Wyoming, and Adam is wearing a not a red shirt, but it's more orange than the last time, Adam.
Well, I was trying to make a point that the shirt that I wore 2 weeks ago was orange as well, and I wanted to show that it looks red on camera, and this is not working. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
just kind of like the Bart Simpson emoji where he just goes back into the
Yeah.
shrubbery, the bushes.
I will say it probably is more orange in person than it is on camera, but this one looks more orange than the one 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So
Well, it's Philip Lindsay, so
yeah,
props to our guy. Man,
yeah.
and like he's got to be top five for you too, right? Of all time buffs that you've had a chance to interact with.
Oh yeah. I mean he's top two, I would say. I don't know who else
Yeah,
is up
he's
there,
awesome.
but
I love
he's
Philip Lindsay.
he and Cepho are both up there. Cepho Lufau. They're two of the best, and honestly. I think, although we didn't get as many one-on-ones with him, I would put Shador as a top five, guy as far as interviews and just because he was real personable and really good with us with the media. So that could be a whole other video. That's probably an off-season video to talk about our top buffs. So we got to talk about Wyoming, right?
Well, real quick though. So like last season, Keaton Wade had this crazy production compared to snaps ratio on defense, right?
Yeah,
I would say BJ Green's interviews with us was very similar to that. We didn't get a chance to talk to BJ Green a ton, but that's one of those guys I'm like, I hope he does really well in life.
yeah.
And he will because he's such a smart guy. But he's top five for me too, even though we only talked to him a couple times, really.
Yeah, I chatted with him. The only time I chatted with him one-on-one was at media day last year, and I had heard he doesn't like doing media. And I sat down with him. Like, I actually told him at the end, I'm like, I've heard you don't like doing this, but you're awesome, man. He was a great interview, and it was really fun to talk to him. And so I agree with you on BJ Green. He's an underrated, probably all-time interview.
Yeah, definitely. We don't get that vote anymore. They used to give us that
Yeah,
beat writer got to vote on the best interview of the year, and that was one of my favorite things to do every year.
yeah. That pretty much stopped when Coach Prime got here, right? And we did that. That was kind of, I don't know if it was because of Coach Prime, but it was definitely a Dave Platty thing. Dave Platty, obviously, his retirement coincided with Coach Prime coming here, so maybe it was a Platty thing that kind of went away when he retired. So, yeah, that was always a fun thing to vote on, and you always had to think like, man, there's so many good choices here. But when Philip Lindsay was there, it was pretty obvious in 2017. Yeah, it's Philip Lindsay.
And when George Hippolyte was on campus, it was obvious. Yeah, there were a few guys. It was like Scotty McKnight was like that. It was like
Yeah,
there were go-to guys throughout some of those tough years, and even Casey Roddick in 2022. He was
yeah.
put in front of us a couple times in really rough situations after Air Force,
Hmm.
on the road at Arizona, and I always really respected him a lot for just being able to do that because that can't be a fun thing after you get your butts kicked as a football team.
Yeah, no, he was great that year. Really good. And this year, Jordan Seaton's one of my favorites. Sticking with offensive line. I mean, I think he's, when I've had a chance to interact with him, just a really personable young man. And you could tell last year, just as a freshman, like this guy's really mature.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, some great interviews over the years, and yeah, the Buff fans want to hear us talk about Wyoming probably, but yeah, it's always fun to reminisce. I'm glad you wore the Philip Lindsay shirt because it allowed us to do that. So, but we got a game coming up this week, Adam, and obviously it's a big one for the Buffs, and um, we talked about in our video the other day that it looks like Kaden Salter is going to be the starting quarterback again for the Buffs. And as you've had a chance, we were kind of reacting to it. It had happened just that morning that the news had come out. But as you've had a chance to really process how do you feel about that?
I mean, it's the right call, and I was kind of reflecting on what I said to you yesterday about the fact that Kaden Salter didn't get those reps at Houston to get more fully in line with this offense and with Pat Shermer's play calling and just the general sense of things. Uh, but somebody made a good point on our message board saying that, this could be the wake up call he needs for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
And that is a good point. If Kaden Salter needed that kick in the butt to get on track and he balls out the next 9 weeks, it could have been the best thing that could have happened for him. It just we can't look into the future and predict that, right? So it's
yeah,
it's hard to say, but uh, I thought that was a good point.
yeah, and it is a good point. And before you and I are doing this, I did a podcast with my colleague Pat Rooney, and I brought up this point that I've been going back to ever since Coach Prime talked about the leadership on Tuesday. I keep thinking back to my conversation with Caden's mother a couple weeks ago when I did a feature story, and I said, "Well, tell me about him as a kid growing up." And she talked about how he was just very self-driven, and around the house he had four siblings, and it was kind of like he would step back and the older ones will take care of the dishes. The younger ones have got the trash, And I kind of joked with her. I said, so he didn't really grow up with like those kind of natural quarterback leadership skills. She said, no, not really. He had to develop them and really started to blossom as a leader in junior high and high school. And so I've thought about that. I'm like, he's not a natural leader, and it's something he has to work at. And maybe to your point, maybe this was just something he needed a little kick to say, all right, get those leadership skills going, buddy. Let's go. And so it's not, I don't think it, my point is, I don't think it comes as naturally to him as it does to a Shador, and maybe even to a Ryan Staub. But I think Caden's a better player, but you need Caden with that leadership skills to go along with the talent that he has. And you're right, maybe this could be the wake up call. And I don't know if it'll wind up in hindsight. You sacrifice the game at Houston to make a point for the better in the long run, but maybe this is what he needs.
Yeah, fake it till you make it. I mean, until you're a natural leader, you gotta, as we heard Brett Bartoloni say to us yesterday, and then those were great points, Brian, that you made there. Brett Bartoloni said that Caden Salter needed to be more vocal right
Yeah,
after he was asked a question yesterday, and I think that that's where maybe the kick in the butt helps of really okay. We this is my final year at the college level.
hmm,
We got 9 games left. I didn't get to play in the last game, and if this drives him again, it'll be a great thing. But it's been kind of frustrating to watch play out the last 3 weeks. This has not been a fun start to the season
no,
from a storyline. I mean, there's been a lot of storylines, but just from a media to team standpoint, it seems like it's kind of adversarial, and you want to see this program figure itself out. And there's kind of this controversy over Coach Prime talking about how they don't really need an identity, or he doesn't really believe in that.
yeah,
But the next day, Bartoloni like said, we got to have an identity. It's not that it has to be the wishbone offense like Air Force ran back in the day. That doesn't need to be your identity, but you got to figure something out that guys rally behind. And I feel like this football team hasn't found that yet.
yeah. I agree with you. And I want to say one other thing about what Bartoloni said. He said, I feel like we're getting closer to getting there as far as having that guy. And maybe that's what he's referring to is Caden Salter got that wake up call and he's showing those things early this week. It's like, all right, if he can get there, we'll be okay. But you're right. I think this offense does need an identity. And I think Coach Prime understands that. I think that he likes to um, kind of, well, what do you think that meaning is? He does that a lot, and we'll see it in videos. He'll do that with the team as well. And don't just, I also think that I think what he's saying in a lot of that is like, let's not just fall back on we need an identity. It's play well. Go play well. And then I think to him, I'm just guessing, but to him, that identity will fall in line if you just play well. And I think that's where what comes first to him is just go out and execute and do the things we're teaching you. And then from there, the identity will follow. Because I think if they're doing the things that they're being taught and that they feel like go execute this, I think we're going to look at it and say, all right, that's a balanced offense. I mean, they can run the ball when they need to. They can throw the ball. They got a nice running quarterback. So I think that identity comes if there's better execution.
Yeah, no question. And I think you look back to last year, their identity was Shador Sanders in a 10 personnel look.
Yeah,
That was their identity.
yeah,
It worked great in a lot of games. They won 9 games. Those 4 losses, not as well. Defensively, it was a tribe mentality.
yeah,
That's what I'm looking for. I think this team needs the defense to really rise up and kind of create that identity for an offense that has, like you said, you want to be more balanced offensively. It's a lot easier for the defense to create a mentality at this point, I feel like, than the offense in
yeah,
Colorado system.
yeah. And I think yes, and I think as Barlow mentioned, he goes, we need more leaders all across the board, and I think that this is a wake up call not only for Kaden Salter, but this week could be a wake up call for this entire team. I think what I'm seeing a little bit is like a guy like Tawfiq Bayard can step up and be a leader on that defense and really, rally the guys. And there's got to be more of that tribe mentality. And I think Bayard seems to be like a kid that can do that. I thought he played really well against Houston. He seems to be. I think it was the first practice. He's the one that broke it down. Because coach, had him break it down and put him up on the podium this week, which is there's always there's a reason why Coach Prime puts those guys on the podium, and so um, that tells you that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. So, to me, I look at a guy like Tawfiq Byard and say he can be a leader on this team and on this defense. And so, um, I'm just curious to see how this plays out this week because I think this is going to be a week that I want to go watch. I don't know if we'll see it real time or if it'll be something that when I go back and rewatch the broadcast, because you know how it is during the game, you're kind of busy, like it's play to play, but maybe it'll show up when I rewatch the broadcast. But I'm curious to see if leaders show up, if you can actually
Yeah,
see leadership.
one of the things that Philip Duke said on his podcast this morning, I know you got a chance to meet him, really good
Yeah,
guy, do an interview with him. And he's well sourced within this Colorado football program. And he was talking about there are some guys in this program that are not going to class consistently, that are not showing up to meetings on time. And there's this other side of things. Uh, on Monday, I put up a post on our message board of like, based on what you've seen on the game field through 3 games, who would you put out there as your starter for the next game? And we're not privy to that information, and maybe that would help us do our jobs a little bit more. But I know they don't want to throw guys under the bus necessarily. But there's definitely more going on with some of these personnel decisions
yeah,
than just on the field game performance.
yeah, and that's the thing that we don't always know about, and um, we do know Coach Prime is very big on those things. He if you're not going to class, you're not taking care of business, he can't trust you on the field, and you know maybe that's what's going on with Kaden Salter, or some of these other guys that aren't playing as much. And so that's where I hope that this week for the Buffs across the board for those kids that aren't going to class or whatever, I hope for them it's a wake up call because I think that you made the point on our video earlier this week. There's too much talent on this team. I don't think they're, one of the most talent. I don't think they're the most talented team in the Big 12, but there's too much talent on this team to go 2-10 or 3-9. This is bowl game talent on this
If we're not
roster.
covering if we're not, yeah, 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 yeah. If we're not covering a bowl game in December, it's probably the biggest failure from a team talent standpoint that we've covered.
Yeah,
And I do think they're going to bounce back and get back from that. But that's kind of where we're at right now, 3 games in.
yeah, and honestly, this could be another discussion we have. But like, I look back at all these years that we've been covering it, and they've missed bowl games. Um, there's a lot of teams that were just bad, right? There's a
Yeah.
few. There's probably I don't even know if I would need a whole hand to name the ones that I thought they had bowl game talent, just didn't get there. I think
17 for sure.
2017, 2018, I thought those were bowl teams that didn't get there. I think 2023 was a bowl team that didn't get there that if you finish that Stanford game, you're 5-2 at the point. I think they get one more. And this to me would be a fourth one. If they don't get to a bowl game with this roster, I think that that's a failure.
Yeah. But they get 9 games left, and
Yes.
all they got to do is one more than they lose going
Yes.
forward. So, in the ceiling could rise from there. It's I get it for Colorado fans. It's kind of a bummer. This is the topic going into week 4 against Wyoming.
So going into week 4, we know they need 5 more wins. Um, is this one of them, Adam? And if so, how do they get there?
Yeah, well, you got to score more than 20 points, and
Yeah.
I know that Coach Prime says that when we score 30 or more, we win those games. This might be one you just got to get over 20
Yeah.
against Wyoming. Their defense is really good. Their offense is coached by Jay Johnson. So if they're backed up at the 2 yard line in Folsom Field, look out for the flea flicker. That's a throwback to 2019 there.
Yeah.
Uh, but that is not a great offense right now. And so I know they put up some points against a lower, was it Northern
Northern
Illinois?
Iowa. Northern
Yeah,
Iowa.
Northern
Yeah.
Iowa, yeah. But no, they've struggled offensively early on this season. I enjoyed tuning into that Utah Wyoming game last week.
Yeah.
They're scrappy, man, and that was a home game for them up at altitude. Not that Utah has to travel up too much in that sense, but they were tested in that first half. So this is a Wyoming team that if you're not on point, they're going to take advantage and they're going to be fine. But
Yeah.
Colorado is vastly superior in terms of talent. So I'm going 27-13 in this game for Colorado. What about you?
Yeah. I'm along those lines, but I'm thinking the offense scores more this week. I think that Kaden Salter and this offense has probably gotten the kick in the pants they needed. And I think that they put up some points. And you know, Utah, I think their offense is better than Colorado's, but they wound up putting over 500 yards of offense, close to 600 yards against Wyoming last week. It was only 3-0 at the half, but it was 31-7 at the end, I think the final score was. And so they had a big second half. I'm going to go 35-13 Buffs. I think that they roll with this one. I think Caden Salter comes out and has a nice game and kind of I think he solidifies that quarterback spot. Like Brett Bartoloni was saying, we need to solidify that spot. We're getting close to it. I think he solidifies that spot. And I think that for the first time in a couple weeks, I think we're going to go into next week absolutely knowing who the quarterback is and not having to ask Coach Prime, do you have a plan at quarterback? Because I think we'll know what it is based on this week. Wyoming, I do think they are scrappy. Offensively, they got a really good tight end. But I will say, I loved the way Tawfiq Bayard covered the tight end last week, and he kind of shut down Koziel from Houston once he started doing that. And so I'm curious to see that matchup. Bayard again, if they put Bayard on him again. And Wyoming can run the ball, but CU's done a pretty good job. We talk about their run defense a lot. They've actually done a pretty solid job against running backs. It's the quarterbacks that have hurt them. And Caden Anderson of Wyoming's not a runner. So I think the Buffs have a lot of success on defense in this one too.
I like it. Yeah. No, I fell asleep at halftime of the Utah game. So maybe my respect for Wyoming's defense is greater because I watched the first half very closely. But no, yeah, it's one of those things where if you show up to Folsom Field with a rowdy student section, you know they're going to be fired up.
Yeah.
And I hope there's no weather delays because the student section gets a little out of control when that
Yeah.
happens. But
Well, look, I mean, Wyoming only gave up 10 points in the first 10 quarters of this season. So I think that their defense is salty and um, I think Utah probably just wore them down.
yeah, so run Simeon Price right at those guys
Right.
over and over again
Yeah.
with Jordan Seaton, and I don't know if it's going to be Larry Johnson or Andre Roy on the right side, but yeah, use that group to really wear them down because that is going to be the recipe between a Power 4 program in I don't know if you'd say a resurging program at Wyoming under Jay Salvell. They were pretty awful last year, but he did a good job of keeping talent in-house,
Yeah.
which in this transfer portal era is pretty tough to do. That's the mitigator. And Brian, it's like maybe not Delaware, but three of the first four Colorado opponents are better than we thought
Yeah. Yeah.
preseason, right?
And I think, yeah, I think Wyoming is a building program. I think Wyoming's gonna is a team that can have a nice season in the Mountain West, but you still got to be able to beat them, right? And
But they're
uh,
better than we thought they were going to be a month ago, right?
yeah, probably. I think defensively, yeah, you never know what to expect with Wyoming, but yeah, I think defensively they're tough, and I think that they've got a quarterback that while he hasn't really shown it a lot this year. I think that they like him a lot. He got into that starting role midseason last year, and their offense clicked a lot better once he got in there. But it hasn't been great so far. But yeah, I think they're going to wind up being a solid team. The other thing you have to guard against is, Coach Prime. I mentioned the other night games. We're not good at night games. Well, this is 8:15, so um, I'm hoping that I'm not predicting too big of a blowout on a night game, and maybe the Buffs slug through it, and and because it's night, it's like 20-17 or something like that. But yeah, I know they practice at night on Wednesday, and they're trying to mix things up a little bit, and maybe that'll help.
Yeah, it's one of those very difficult things to like know how it quantifies to a game, right? Like if
Right.
you practice at night, if you change their schedule, how much does that really change things?
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out Saturday night.
And
I mean,
I've never believed that. I don't think the day night thing phases college athletes very
I
much.
don't think so. They're
Like,
they're so resilient at that age.
and a lot of them are up late a lot of times anyway, and
Yeah.
I think they're ready to go whenever they have to play. That's my opinion. And I think it's energy in the stadium. I think once you get into that stadium and there's a lot of energy at night, I think Folsom has a lot of energy in night games. Um, if that doesn't wake you up, then there's a problem. And so I don't feel like college athletes have a problem being up for a night game.
Yeah, I think with this football team, it's more about meshing this talent
Yeah.
than it matters what time they kick off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And also, something I point out with Pat when I chat with him is, look, they've owned this series. They got to own this game. I mean, they're 24-2-1 all time against Wyoming, and one of the last loss was 1982. They don't play very often. Previous to that was 1935. So they've only lost twice to this team. You can't lose to them again. It's got to be a good one. Um, my only hope is that they don't come out with the same uniforms they wore the last time they played Wyoming.
You didn't like the throwbacks, huh? The
I was not covering.
Rodney Stewart was rocking those, man. He was running circles around those Cowboys back in
Yeah,
2008, I want to say.
2009, 2009.
2009.
I
Okay.
was not covering the team yet. I started covering them the next year. You were covering them, but yeah, I looked up some photos and looking at one right now. Those were not good, man.
Come on, man. Like it's a throwback. It's not going to look like today's jerseys.
I know, but it didn't look good, especially next to
All right, all
Wyoming's
right, all
jerseys.
right.
Go back and look at a photo, especially next to Wyoming's
I
jerseys
put,
that
I
day.
put one on our message board yesterday. I actually like those jerseys.
All
So
right, all right.
this
Well,
shows you the subjective nature of
of jerseys.
analyzing jerseys. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they don't wear those tomorrow, but we'll see.
They're not going to because Wyoming's going to be wearing their yellow, right?
Oh, I don't
They
know.
got
I
some of
didn't
the,
see.
no offense to our neighbors up north, but Wyoming has some of the ugliest uniforms that have ever been created,
You
or
don't like
like the worst color scheme.
you don't like brown and yellow together?
No, I don't.
All right. Well,
It's below red though, just so you know, in terms of my hierarchy of colors.
all right. I like brown if it's done well. I actually like the Wyoming uniforms.
Okay.
So see, we're totally opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't mind Wyoming's uniforms. I hated the throwbacks from 2009. You're the opposite. So
Yeah. So let's just end this stupid video then.
sounds good. I'll see you on Saturday night.
Okay, sounds good.